Hello and welcome to DevSpot. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a portfolio in Vue. This will be part one of what I'm assuming is going to be a multi-part series here. In this video, I'm going to walk you through setting up some basic HTML, some basic CSS, and then we'll even go over how to render JSON data to display a handful of the projects you might have. In the later videos, I'm going to go through connecting this project to Firebase, and we're going to set up a way in which you can post new projects to that Firebase and then pull them into your project and render them like so in a more kind of real world, more dynamic way of doing it. And being able to say that you understand how JSON works and how you can set up Firebase and connect that to a Vue application. Those can be pretty key skills if you're looking to either get hired or just keep bettering your skills. And yeah, if you find it helpful, please let me know in the comments below and consider subscribing. Thank you. All right, so to get your project up and running, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the folder location where you want your project to be located. And you're simply going to type in Vue create and then call your project whatever you want to call it. In this case, I'm calling it Vue Portfolio. And I'm going to be using Vue 3, and then just simply click enter and it will install all the necessary plugins that you need, and you should be good to go on that front. So then when you go to your actual project, you should see all of these files have been loaded, all the different plugins you need. And I'm using Visual Studio Code. So within the terminal of your Visual Studio Code, you're going to want to go to your project here. So let's change the portfolio, if I could spell, and then you're going to want to type in npm run serve. And what that is going to do is run your project locally so that you're able to see changes that you're making live as you keep going. So let's go ahead and make this split screen. Let's go, we want this one. Okay, so it should be running. Let's refresh this, and there you go. You can see that we are running our Vue.js application, and we should be able to start building away. So this is our hello world component that is loaded automatically, so I will get rid of this later. But let's start by just kind of following the structure that they have here. So let's go ahead and build our main kind of, our main page here. The title card is what we'll call it. We'll call it main card actually. So let's go with main card.vue. So this is going to be that first thing that you see when you go to your portfolio. And I have a nice plugin here that automatically loads in some boilerplate code here. So within our template, we're going to have a main container. So this is going to be our main area for the title card that we're going to structure everything off of. Let's call it test portfolio just to show you how to actually get these components to show up. Okay, so we have our main card.vue here. So actually, let me run you through this too if you're new to Vue. So within your style tag here, this is where all your CSS is going to go. Within your script tag here, this is where all the JavaScript goes. And within our template here, all of the HTML. And we're going to go with a single file component structure here. So all of our components that we're going to make, all of the CSS, all the JavaScript, and HTML is going to pertain just within that file. So to do that, you're going to want to have your style scoped. Otherwise, you're going to be having a lot of different carryover from one component to the other, and you might have some issues and be like, hey, what's going on here? It's probably because your CSS is not scoped to that file, so file scope. So then within our app.vue, this is going to be our main file in which we're going to call all the components that we're making. So in this case, let's go ahead and follow how they show you here. So let's import our main card from the components folder, and it's called main card.vue. And then here you're going to have your components object here where you're going to need to actually call this imported component here. So then you call your main card that you just loaded in, and let's go ahead and save this, and you should see at the bottom test portfolio. So this here is an entirely separate component from this here, but we're rendering it within our app.vue here. See how that's going to work? So we can go ahead and start getting, let's get rid of this. Let's clean it up a little bit, get out of here. Let's go here and get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. And let's go ahead and save. We should be good to go. Okay, sweet. So we have our test portfolio there. So within our main card, let's go ahead and start building out our simple little little card here. So within our main container here, let's start structuring out everything for this card that we want to display here. So let's start by building out the different divs that we're going to need to have the layout look good here. So within our main container, let's go ahead and build a div called, let's just call it container 1. And then within our container 1, we're going to have a profile section. That'll just be like your image, maybe a job title, maybe saying you're a student, and then a few links to different social medias you might have. So let's go with an inner div. We'll call this one your profile, and this will be an image. And then underneath the image, let's say your name here, and then let's say you are a software developer. Okay. And then outside of this div, we're going to create a div of different links to some social medias, your GitHubs, your LinkedIns that you might want. So let's call this one social links. And let's go ahead and have these be an anchor tag. That's not what I meant to click. So then within our anchor tag here, let's go ahead and add a div with a class of, we'll call it link, and let's add an image, and let's add a title underneath it. So let's go with our GitHub here, and we'll save that. So we should see, look at that. So we've got some stuff showing up, pretty sweet. So then let's copy this a few times, because let's go ahead and add like let's add our LinkedIn, our Twitter, and maybe an Instagram. So this will be linked, LinkedIn, we'll go with Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, save that. There we go, we can see they're all showing up. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and add some images here. So within your project, I store my images within the assets folder. So let's go ahead and start linking these up here. So the source for our profile picture is going to be /assets/ what did I say? This profile pic PNG. Okay, let me figure out how to get this working, and I'll come back to you. Okay, so now we've got our profile image in here. So let's go ahead and add the other images, and we can work on resizing them. This one will be GitHub, so let's call GitHub PNG. Let's call LinkedIn PNG. Let's call Twitter PNG, and let's call Instagram PNG. Save that. See if those are all loading up. Yep, sweet. So we've got those working, looking good. So on to the next step. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to just build this all out, and then we'll go back and add our CSS. Okay. So let's add a little CSS to this one. Actually, it seems to be just a little too much going on there. So let's go down to our style tag here. So within the style tag, let's go ahead and start resizing some things. So for now, let's go ahead and just add a strict size to all the images, and we will come back and resize these later. So let's go with, okay, so everything's nice and small now. So let's add the second side to our main card here. So we're going to create another container that's going to be right next to the container 1. So we have container 1 here, and next to that, let's call container 2. And within container 2, this is going to be our about me section. So let's have a div. Let's call this, let's give this a class of about me. Within the about me, we're going to add a header tag, about me, and then underneath that, let's add a paragraph. And for now, I will just load up some lorem ipsum here, just to fill some space to get you the idea. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So now we've got our little about me section looking good. Let's go ahead and add the, right, so we want to add a technology section. So this will be where you say, hey, I know JavaScript, I know CSS. So let's go ahead and let's go technology section. And within that, let's add another header tag, technologies studied. And let's add some nice little logos here. So let's add a div logos. And this is going to be a bunch of different images. So let's go with image. And we're going to go ahead and see. So let's see, what do I have in here? So let's go with JavaScript, CSS, HTML. Okay, that's what we're doing. Copy this. Copy that, and this will be JavaScript, HTML, CSS. Oh, what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? HTML2, CSS2. Great naming convention. Do not. Oh, jeez. JavaScript 2. I don't know why there's a 2 there, but I guess that's what I felt like naming it. So sweet. Okay, so we've got some cool little images down there. Looking good. All right. So the next step is right. So I'm going to add some buttons to the bottom that will like automatically scroll people down to your project section. Okay. So outside of our container 2. Let's put it inside container 2 for now. We can maybe change that later, but let's see. So let's add a div here. We'll call this our button container. And we're gonna want to add a, let's go with, let's put, I'm gonna put it in a, so I'm going to put this in a div actually. So let's call this projects button, and then this will be an anchor tag that we will set to scroll the user down to your projects. And then let's add another div that will, let's say it's going to open your resume. How about? So let's say you have your resume saved in here as well. We can just have a PDF file saved in here, and we can open that up. All right, great. So we have the general HTML structure of our main card that we're building here. So we have your profile picture, your name, your job title, or wherever you're at in your career, your technology studied, your about me section. So it's looking good so far. And now I'm going to go down and start building some of the CSS here. So the main reason we have these container 1 and container 2 is we want them to be side by side. So let's go ahead and let's call our main container, and let's give this display flex is what I'm going to be using for this project. And then your flex direction, this is going to decide the direction in which the child components are rendered. So let's go with a flex direction of row. So this should put everything side by side like so. So you can see here, we're already, like, look at that. That's 2 lines of CSS here, and it's already completely changed everything. So within our main container, we now have our both of our inner divs loading side by side, and I'm going to add some colors here because I feel like it always helps me understand kind of what's going on. And I'll add I'll add a background color, and we'll give it a let's see. I'll give it like a nice little gray color. Oh yeah. Okay, great. So you can see here, so our main container is all of this. So that's the background color of all of this, right? So then let's go ahead and look at our, what did I call it? Container 1. So let's look at container 1 and get that to look a little prettier. So container 1, let's give that a background color so I can show you how that's looking. And let's give this a nice color. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so you can see here, so this is our container 1, and then container 2 is going to be, let's give it a little blue shade. Great, so there you go. So you can see how these things were laid out. So the gray that was behind here is the main container. It's holding all of our child components here. And then our container 2 is this nice blue section. Our container 1 is this reddish section, okay? So let's go ahead and start making container 1 look pretty now that you know kind of how everything is being laid out. So within container 1, I don't mind the how everything is nice and centered, so I'm gonna stick with that and keep rolling with that. But I'm gonna want to restyle the sizes of these images. So let's go ahead. Actually, let me show you the width as well. So the width of a component, if you're gonna set these widths. So let's say we want this left container to be a little smaller than the right container. So let's say we want it to be a width of 40%. So this 40% is going to be related to the parent component. So let's set the width of this to 60 so that it fills in the rest of that space. And there you go. You can see that the percentages are going to be based off what the parent component width is. So we could set this to 30. And there you go. So you can see that this one is only going to fill up 60% of whatever the parent component is, which is our main container, and then the container 1 is a child component that is going to fill 30% of that main container. So I'm hoping that makes sense here, because that'll be a common theme here, is just figuring out how we want everything to actually be fitting. Okay, so let's set this. I want this to fill up the rest of that space, so we're filling up 100% of that parent component. Within our container 1, I do not like how the things are posted right up at the top of that container. So let's go ahead and add some padding. And let's give it a padding of 5% is way too much. Usually I try to stay away from using pixels because you want everything to look friendly on mobile as well. So you want things to flow nicely, and you don't want anything to be overlapping and having weird scrolling features being an issue. So let's go ahead and resize our images here. So let's call alright, so in our container 1 we have our profile picture. So let's go with call our profile image, and let's give it a height of a little more than that. So this will be the size of our profile image, like this, and I like a nice rounded image. So let's go with border radius of 50%. Let's get a nice little circle going. Boom, look at that. And then we're going to want to restyle our anchor tags here because those look atrocious. So within our social links div, actually, so we have a class name for our links here. So let's go with link. Right. Oh, okay. So this is, yeah, this isn't, okay, this is bad. So I don't know why this happened. Okay, so I put, I put all of my divs inside an anchor tag. So that is not what I want. So sorry if you were confused on that one earlier. I have no idea why I did that. Let's go ahead and fix that up real quick. Put that in there. Let's put that in there. Let's put that in there. And finally, let's put that in there. Okay, so that should hopefully make a little more sense. Okay, so let's go down here. So we're going to call our link div, and we want to access that anchor tag. And to get rid of the decoration on the text there, you go text decoration, none. Gets rid of that. And then let's go ahead and let's just give it a color of black for now. Okay. Actually, what do we have the text as here? Yeah. That's good. Okay. And font size. So there we go. We're starting to put this thing together a little bit. I hope you can kind of see it. And I realized I did this wrong again. I want the image within the anchor tag. I just okay, and put that down there. Okay, so this should work because I want them to be able to click either the they can click either the image or the text here to redirect them to the other page. So let's make this look a little nicer. Here, let me fix this real quick and I'll come back to you. So that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to put the images within the anchor tag as well. Okay. So we are, yep, okay, we're recording. Okay, so we're back. So now you can see if you scroll over here, you can see that if they click the image, if they click this, it will redirect them to that page. So we also want to style the size of those images. So within our link, let's call the images that are in there and let's give them a height of 3 rem, way too large. So there we go. We have something we've got something coming together here. It's looking a little better. And then we'll go back and mess around with colors and all of that later on, okay? So now let's move on to the About Me section. Let's start piecing that together. Let's see, so the container 2, we have this, okay? So within the container 2, let's go ahead and start making the About Me section look a little better. I don't like my text to be centered like this, so I'm going to change that. So let's go to our About Me class. About Me, text align, left. There you go, you can see how our text is being aligned there. Let's add a margin. 2.5%. So the margin just adds kind of a body around the there, well, actually, it shows you right there. So we have a margin, so it's coming in 2.5%, which we'll stick with for now, but we'll see how that kind of plays out when we're looking at mobile. But either way, you can see how things aren't just squished right up next to each other, which is obviously what we're going for. So yeah, that looks a lot better. I like the left aligned text. Let's go ahead and check out our technology studied section and get that to look a little better. But before we do that, let's add some roundness here. So to add a roundness to a container, let's go ahead and add a border radius. Let's go with, you can either use percentages, you can use pixels. Let's see what like a 25 pixel border radius looks like. Okay, so that looks all right. Let's go with that. Let's get rid of the, okay, so that'll be on that. So then let's go ahead and add a border radius to our container 1 here as well, of 25 pixels. Cool. So we've got kind of a cool rounded look coming in together here. That's nice. So back to what I was doing here. So the technology studied. Let's go ahead and get this to look a little nicer. I think we mainly just need to change the size of those images. So technology studied. We've got the logos class. Let's go ahead and access that. Logos image. Oops. Image with a height of, okay, too small. Okay, so we've got some technology study there. Looks good enough for now. And then let's style up those project buttons. So let's click, I'm gonna add a class. I'm gonna add the same class to this link as well. Oops. Okay, so we've got projects button, so that's what we're going to want to style here. So projects button. Let's add some text decoration. None. Oh, because we need to actually access the anchor tag there. Okay, so we're messing with the anchor tag here. So the text decoration in our projects button class, the anchor tag will have no text decoration. Perfect. And then let's add this same color back here. Okay, so we've got that looking like that. Let's go ahead and add, let's add a background color to our projects button. Let's go with a, so we've got a blue there. Let's pick a darker blue. I know these colors are kind of random. We can come back and tinker around with some better colors later on, but let's see. Okay, let's add some padding. We'll just do 5 pixels for padding. Oh, no. Let's add margin. Okay, so we've added a margin between those two. And that'll just add a little space between those two items. But I don't think I want them to be stacked like that. I'd rather them be next to each other. So let's see if we can get that to work. So the projects button, we need to go to the parent component, which is the button container. Okay. So let's go to, let's clean this up. Let's go to the button container. We want to add display flex, and just like before, flex direction row, and there we go. So now one thing that you're going to need to know how to do is centering your objects when you're using display flex, and to do that, justify content center. Okay, easy as that. And then if you want, so justify content center, that will center things horizontally like this, and then align items center. That centers them vertically. Okay, so we've got that working. Let's add some padding back to this actually of, let's do 5 pixels, and let's add a border radius, oops, border radius of 15 pixels. How about, oh yeah, that's looking good. And let's change the color to white. Okay, so there we go. We've got some buttons, and we've got our technology studied. Yeah, so it's looking good. Let's add a margin to the top of this. I feel like, yeah, because we can work with spacing a little later, but that's the gist of what we've got going here. So there you go. You've already got a somewhat decent looking card for your project, your portfolio. So in the next steps, I'm gonna show you how to actually add a little more stylisticness to this. We're going to have some more cards built down here. So I will show you in the next step how to do that. All right, so now in our next section here, we have a pretty ugly looking main card, but we're not too worried about stylistically what it's looking like. All right, we're just building out the structure here. We're gonna go back and change some colors around. I can give you some ideas, but this is kind of where you can make it your own. I mean, you can choose whatever colors you want. You can add opacity to things and stuff like that, but we'll come back and make a prettier version. But let's just keep trucking along here. Let's start building out another component where we're gonna show our projects. And this is where we're actually gonna be using some of the actual beneficial, some of the useful things that Vue allows us to do. We're gonna have it be loaded from a JSON file. We're going to render our projects based on data that we store in a JSON file. And in the next video I'll make after this, I'll show you how to set up sort of a blog where you can update that, and we're going to use Firebase, connect that to your portfolio, and you'll be able to go to, let's say you call this myportfolio.com/post or something like that, and you'll be able to actually add some projects that way. So let's get into that. Should be kind of interesting. So within here, let's add a projects.json file, and let's go ahead and let's see here. Let's start by creating an array of projects here. So let's call this projects array. And this is just temporary, by the way. So once we actually get into making the Firebase connection here, it'll be a lot more dynamic in that way. So let's add a project here. Let's give it an ID. We'll give this one the ID of 1. We'll give it a title. And that'll be project 1. And let's give, what do you think? Let's do like a short paragraph about what the project is about. And I'm actually going to go back here and copy a little bit of this lorem ipsum. And back here, and paste that. Okay. And then what else do we need? So we've got the ID, we've got the title. We're going to do a base64 encoded image. All right. So let's go ahead and add the image here, and this will just be a picture of, I don't know if it's if your project is a website, you could do a picture of the main page or anything like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Put it in a string like so. All right, so here's a site that I've used on occasion to create some base64 encoded images. So if you just drag and drop an image in here, you can go ahead and get the base64 encoded image, just like this. So this site is handy enough for what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and come back to our image here. Okay. So we have our image, base64 encoded, And then these could be some sample links that you might want to link to, say a GitHub, or if it's like a live project, you could add a link to that. We'll come back to that later. So let's save our projects.json, and then I will show you how to actually import this JSON, and we'll be able to show it within our project here. So let's go back to our components. We're going to want to add a new file. This will be our projects card.view, and then within our script tag here, we're going to want to import our JSON data. So import JSON data from slash, what do we call it? Projects.json. Okay. And within our export default here, you're going to want to add the data method. Now this will allow us to return data to our actual template up there. So let's call it project data, and we're going to map this to the JSON data. Okay. So let's go up to our template and let's see if we were actually able to get this to work properly. So in order to access the data within double curly brackets like this, just call that item that you made here, which we called project data, and that should do the trick. So let's go to our app.view, and we need to import our projects card from component slash projects card, and then we need to call that card projects card, and then we need to put it in our template like so. Alright, so we messed something up. So it doesn't know where projects.json is. Maybe because I put it outside of my project. Terrific. So let's copy that. Alright, so that fixed the issue. Okay. I'm not sure why I did that. Okay, so here you go. You can see we have all of our JSON data here, our incredibly long encoded image. Perfect. Okay. So now that we've got our JSON data set up correctly and in the right location, let's go ahead and start rendering this JSON data in our project. So you can see that we've imported the JSON data, and then within our data object here, we're going to return our JSON data and map it to project data. Okay. So then this allows us to call within our template project data dot projects array, because that's how we saved it within our JSON file here. So if I go back, you can see here, so we have our projects array, which will be an array of all of our projects. I currently have 2 in there, so I can show you. And then I'm going to show you how to set up a v-for loop. So the v-for loop, you're going to iterate over the project data dot projects array, oops, like so, and you're going to want to have it set this way that we have an index, and then you map the items to this vbind key, right? So this will allow us to iterate over the array of projects and pull out the data that we need. So let's go ahead and save this, and then we can see here within our projects array we have our title, which is project 1, and then in our second project we have a title of project 2. So we're iterating over this array of objects and we're pulling out the data that we need. Okay, so now we can use this to go ahead and build some cool components. So within our div here, let's go ahead and pull in the about section. So that gives us our titles. Let's go ahead and pull in, actually I kind of want the, how do we want to structure this? Maybe let's do the image first. Set the image, and now you can bind the project data.projects array base64 encoded image to the source of this image. And you're basically going to, this is shorthand for the bind, so you can bind the source of our image to our project array image source. And there you go. So you can kind of see that the images are being rendered. They're obviously way too huge. So let's go ahead and let's add a class to this. We'll call this project card. And let's go down to our CSS and do project card. I want this to just be the image. And we'll give that a height, oops. We'll give that a height of 2 rem. Okay, sweet, so there we go. So we're starting to see this thing come together here. So we're able to pull in our base 64 encoded image, bind it to our image source, and get some semi-recognizable project images there. Okay, so that's what we've got going there. Let's go ahead and add the about section. We'll have that be a paragraph tag. And similarly to how we do this, you just have to call your array. And we titled this about. And look at that, we got our about section. Pretty sweet, huh? I didn't add any links. I can go ahead and do that here in a little bit, and we'll connect those up to maybe some like linking images or something like that. But let's get this to look a little prettier. So let's pull this up. We don't need that anymore. Let's put another main container here. It's always nice to have one overarching container. Put that there. There and okay. Cool. So we got rid of that. All right, cool. So now you can see this is kind of coming together. I think I want these to be side by side. So when somebody's looking at our project in full screen like this, I want these to be side by side. So let's go ahead and change that. So all right, so we want these projects to be more in a row. I don't want them to always be stacked like this. If it's split screen like this, I like it, but I would prefer when somebody comes to our website, and we'll have to change the size of this as well, but when somebody comes to our website, I want these to be in rows of 2. So I'll show you how to set that up really quick with CSS. Let me see, actually I have some code I can just copy and paste. I'm trying to save a little time here. So within our main container, we're going to go ahead and give it a display flex. We're going to justify content center, and we want them to a line item center, and now flex wrap. So this is going to allow objects to go down to the next line if they've reached the end of the line. And within our child component, we're going to give it a margin of 10 pixels to give a little space, and then flex wrap. These child components are going to take up 40% of the screen. So we can see here, I'll save this. And now you can see when you go back to full screen, our components take up, they both take up 40% of the screen. And then we're going to go ahead and I'll show you here. So as it goes a little smaller, maybe like, oh, they're going to take up too much space, plop it down to the next line. So that's flex wrap, okay? So that's going to give us that nice responsive feature there to where they just compress nicely, okay? So let's go ahead and come back here, and let's go ahead and add a little bit of a, how do we want to do this? Let's go with, we'll give it a background color of white for the moment. And then let's go with, so we added a nice little box shadow so you can see there. So this is our child component. We've added a little border radius. We've got some shadows going on there. You can just copy and paste this. Let's add some padding real quick. Give it a little nice little breathing room there. And sweet. So we've got 2 project cards. We've got, all right, let's change that really quick. So within our main card, so we need the actual main container to be smaller. So in order to do that, we're going to need to come back to our main card here, and we're actually going to have to wrap our main container, because when you're using Flexbox, there always has to be a child component in order to actually center that object. So let's just create a wrapper here. We'll call this wrapper, and then let's take all of our main container here. Go ahead and copy that into our wrapper. Come up here. Okay, so that works. And then let's go ahead, call our wrapper. And we will give this display flex, justify content center. And then let's set the width of our main container to be, I don't know, let's check out what like 60% looks like. Okay, so that looks way better. All right, so there we go. So we've got a nice little title card here, a bunch of different links. They obviously go to nothing yet. We haven't set that up. And then we've got some projects here. So in the next step, let's go ahead and try to get this to look a little prettier, and then we'll move on to the next few steps. All right, so I just looked up some generic color palette here. Let's go ahead and start changing some of these colors around and see what we like. Okay, so let's set our main container to be, I'm gonna go with these kind of nice shades of blue. All right, so the main container is gonna be this. And then we'll set the smaller container 1. That'll be, let's do, I think it might look good if it's this one. Alright, and then I don't think we need a color for the container 2. If we do, we can always change it, but looks good enough. And then let's change our buttons here to be that color. Okay, so that's something. That's looking better. That's looking a little better. Okay, and then let's go down to our project cards. So let's go back to our project card here, and we're going to want to, I want to add a bit of a margin to the top of this. Okay, space that out a little bit. So let's dive back into our project cards here, and let's add those links that we want to add to the bottom here. So if we go back into our div within our v-for loop so that we can actually get the links, let's see how we want to do this. So let's set another div in here, and we'll call this links. And then we will set an image. Actually, we're going to want to set an anchor tag with an image. And we're going to want 2 of these in case we have 2 links. And then we will bind, so I said we could either set the link to go to GitHub or to an actual live site. So let me go grab some images real quick and come back to you. Okay, so now we've got the images that we want. So let's go ahead, let's have this one be our GitHub. So okay, so we've got our images set for the links that we want. Let's go ahead and do some resizing here because those look atrocious. So in our links class, let's go down here, links, images, height, see what that gives us. Okay, looks good enough for now. And then let's go ahead and within our links, we're going to want to do display flex. Flex direction row, I want them to be side by side, and we want align items center, let's justify content center, get those guys. Okay, so let's justify content flex end. Probably want to fix that. And that'll put them at the far end of our tabs here. I don't know, I think it might look good if they're down at the bottom there. Let's make them a little smaller. How's that look? Oh, that's looking good. Okay, so then we want to add a bit of margin between them. Okay, we got that. And then let's go ahead, when you hover over them, you can see that your cursor shows up. So here's what you could do. So you can easily take these and you can map these to our links here. So link and link. All right, so let's go ahead and test this. Sure, let's go to lead code. Let's see if this is working. So we go back to our portfolio. We're gonna go into our projects.json. We're gonna go down to, okay. We're gonna go to link 1. And link 2, we'll just have to go to the same one. And link 1 and link 2. Okay, so then we need to save this. We need to go back here. This needs to be link 1. This needs to be link 2. And let's see. Look at that. Takes us to lead code. Awesome. So I actually want that. And a way that you can have it not go in the same tab is to add a target blank there, and that'll make sure that when they click this, it just redirects them to a different tab. It doesn't actually change this tab at all. So there we go. So that is a functioning little project tab there. You can obviously add way more to this. You can add different links that you need. You can change title names. You can do different images. Yeah, so a functioning project tab. Pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and I'll show you how to add some media queries here. So if this kind of looks, I want this to be a little bigger when the screen is smaller. So as you can see here, I like how this looks. This looks fine. But I don't want it to look so like that. Looks absolutely terrible. So let's go ahead and find the pixels where we want it to change. So let's see. So we've got, that looks all right. That looks all right. I'm gonna say at about, honestly, when those wrap down to the bottom, so I'm gonna say at 950 pixels, let's have this width change. So let's go here. Let's go here. Within our project, oh, that looks terrible. Within our main card, let's go back. So we're going to add a so at media screen. Let's set this so that when it gets to a certain screen size, it will change. So let's get rid of that. And we said we want to change it about 950. And let's bring this over. And that was our main container. We will set the width to, let's see what like a 95% does this. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we're cooking. That looks good, huh? So then you scroll down, you got your projects, and there we go. And to make the site look a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and change the background color of our application here. So go to your app.view, change the background color to whatever color you like, and then within here, the body, you're going to want to add a margin of 0, and that'll give it just kind of a nice color rather than just that plain white. And then let's go ahead and look at our main card here, and let's add a box shadow. It kind of It makes it pop off the page a little bit. So you can see there we add a little bit of a background and some box shadows there to our main container and our container one to just add a little bit of, I don't know, it adds a little bit of depth to it. So that'll kind of make it look a little nicer. So this is our rough draft of just the HTML and CSS. So in the next video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to add maybe a few animations. We'll start looking into setting up Firebase and connecting our project JSON to an actual database, and being able to say that you know Vue, you know how to set up Firebase, you know how to use different JSON structures in order to show data that you have. It can be really some valuable tools to have. So if you found this interesting, please stay tuned for the next video. It'll be coming out shortly. Please consider subscribing. I hope this wasn't too rambly and too all over the place. This is my first one I'm putting out. So let me know in the comments below if you like this, and we'll go ahead and start setting up the kind of cooler aspects of this project and really bring this site to life. So thanks.